Yeah.
Get ready. Prepare for blast off.
Centauri's the name. We have to talk about a matter of utmost importance. I invented Starfighter. You may have thought it was a game, but it was also a test. A test! Sent out across the universe to find those with the gift to be starfighters.
Whatever happens, it's you and me forever, right?
We turn to you, starfighters, internavigators, who of all the billions of creatures in the Star League, you alone, stand between us and the black terror of the Kodan.
Kodan Armada will invade. And even your mighty starfighters will be able to save you.
There's no fleet, no starfighters, no plan. It'll be a slaughter!
That's the spirit!
Proceed with the visual attack formation.
Listen, Centauri, I'm not any of those guys. I'm the kid from a trailer party.
If that's what you think, then that's all you'll ever be.
Victory or death! Victory or death!
Now face it, Alex. You're a born starfighter.
Geez, you look terrific.
Oh gosh, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
You know, it was funny. I was watching. You were at a It was 2024. You were at a Comic-Con, and the audience just loved you guys, and they were asking you questions, and a lot of the comments are like, "Wait a second." They were like, they couldn't. It was like you were in a time capsule. They're like, "She looks amazing." I'm like, "What did you expect? She looks great." You know, it's awesome.
Yeah. That's just very, very kind.
Yeah.
First of all, I like my lighting in this place. We've got like great available light, so that's always good for when I'm doing podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
Nice flat light. You can't see too much of the stuff that's going on. But I think also my kids are very youthful looking. My parents were very youthful looking. So there's some DNA involved as well.
Yeah. Well, it's you know, I have to say this too. What are your kids, and I don't know if you have any other children, but like the kids that your children, what do they think of your career as far as like, wow, mom is this great, legendary actor. Do your kids see it that way, or do they just see mom?
Oh my gosh. If anything, it's probably embarrassing to them. Yeah, I have to say, as an actor, when you have this career where you get so much attention and so many accolades and everything, when you have children, it's very humbling. It brings you right back to earth.
Yes.
Instantly.
Yes.
None of this, oh, you're so great. It's always like, oh, geez.
I have to tell you, Catherine, on the topic of having children, I'm an older dad. I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. And I have to say, I was watching the movie Air. It's about Michael Jordan's story. And Viola Davis plays, I think it was Viola Davis. She plays Michael Jordan's mother. And she's talking to Matt Damon's character about what it's like being a parent. She goes, you give and you give and you give until you have nothing left. And then you give some more. It's just the way she described parenthood, Catherine, was like spot on, A+ perfect.
Yeah, it's true. But the thing is, because they're your children, you don't really mind giving. I mean, I always found with my kids as they got older, just when you were about to go, I can't stand this anymore, they would change. And, little like the terrible twos, and all of a sudden they were starting to like communicate properly. And just, I don't know. But it's challenging, and you go through so many ups and downs. You have younger kids, you say?
Yes, yes. I have a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
You know, Catherine, it's funny that you say that about the you want to go nuts at the way they're acting, because my daughter did something that was just, she's a great kid, but she did something I can't remember, that's not something she usually does. And she got upset and she goes, "Dad, I love you." I go, "Well, how much do you love me?" She goes, "I love you more than," she goes, "I love you more than candy." So I was like, that's
Ooh,
that's a pretty good
wow.
compliment. So yeah,
That's
so
a
I'm
really big compliment.
yeah.
Yeah, nice.
Speak
That's okay.
Speaking of kindness, Catherine, I see how you give time to podcasters. You're really good at Comic Cons. You do all these wonderful things. Where's that come from to do that? Like, because you treat everybody like you've known them. You're so kind to people. Like you're giving of yourself. Is that kind of who you are? Do you see something else in that? What's your formula and a reason behind that?
Excuse me. Oh, I don't know if there's a formula. I don't want to say there's a formula. Well, just as a default, I am Canadian, and we're all so nice.
That is very true. Canadian kindness
Everybody
is very
always
real.
says that. Everybody always says that you're just so nice. Canadians are so nice. But I think it has a lot to do with the way I was raised. You don't take things for granted. It's such a weird business, and having to figure out the balance between, like I said, all the attention that you get and all the accolades you get because you happen to be the one up on screen ultimately, so all the attention is on you. When the reality is you wouldn't be there unless there was like 250 people on the set supporting everything that you do, making you look good, making sure you say the lines right, making sure you're in the right spot at the right time. And certainly I think for an audience, they don't necessarily think about all that stuff. But it's really important as an actor to remember all that. It's so important. And it's not all about you, but I also feel so grateful for the audience, because I wouldn't be there without them either.
Right.
So if you're going to do a convention and all these people are there to talk to you, are there for you, I mean, in what other business or industry do we get this? It's almost like a pure thing. I mean, I can see in big business, people are really nice to you because you're very, very successful or whatever. But as an actor, what the audience expresses is how you really had sort of an effect on their lives and played a role in their lives. And one of the things I'm really so grateful for is that the movies, for the most part, that I've done are movies of, about, well, real people, but they're movies that have a really nice message, a good message, and that's what the audience is attracted to, like the Last Starfighter, for instance, as you have it here. It spoke to kids in a real pivotal time in their lives. And so many movies are focused on adults and we can't. I don't even want to get into most of the movies nowadays. But not only it did have that sort of sci-fi fantasy part of it, but it was also attainable for the audience. The message was, reach for the stars. I mean, the line in the movie, if that's all you think you're going to be, that's all you'll ever be. And so it inspires kids to really reach for their dreams. And I love that. Even in something like Night of the Comet, it's more tongue in cheek and definitely crosses a lot of genres. But what was so powerful about that was that it was about a couple of young girls who could take care of themselves.
Yeah.
Which at the time, a lot of people will say, "Did you know that that this was like kind of unusual, I guess, for two girls to be the protagonists, the leads. And I really didn't think about it at the time, but I can't tell you how many people have come up to me saying what an important message it was for them as women. And guys like it too. You know, there's that other thing about, oh, women can't carry a movie. And that's just something that the business people have decided. It's just crap. It's not true.
Yeah. No. No.
And it's so sad and frustrating that there's this idea, and still to this day, sadly, that, you know, it has to be some guy and some girl who's the love interest and blah, blah, blah. But that I'm so grateful that if I've had any impact on people, it's a positive impact. That's makes me so happy.
Yeah, so that's a great answer. I do want to say though, like so if I look at the 80s, like I think anybody, any generation, if they lived the 80s, they would have loved it. We were lucky enough to live it and love it. And, you know, I have to say, Catherine, you're part of that fabric of why people love the 80s. You're a big reason why, you know, people's lives were changed. Like you gave them these performances that they remember forever, as evident by those Comic Cons and me talking to you. And, you know, it's like a ripple effect that goes on forever. So, you know, people ask why the 80s were so great. You're a big part of that reason. You're in that fabric, that woven fabric of why people love it so much. And that's got to be such an awesome feeling as a performer, as a human being.
Yes, both those things, as a performer and as a human being. And it was also, I feel like the 80s had a feeling of sort of innocence about it as well. You know, and there was a lot of focus on kids, you know, and all that we go through and all this other stuff that you don't see so much anymore. They don't sort of touch on, movies don't necessarily touch on the struggles of a kid in high school. I mean, I don't know, what is it, Euphoria? Is that it? Maybe that does. I don't.
Yeah.
I tried watching that. I was like, wow, this is really dark.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a subsect, I would say, maybe. And and again, it's supposed to be wonderful and all that other stuff, but there was a lightness about the 80s, and I loved every second of it. I loved the hair. I loved the clothes. The playfulness of the time.
The music.
The music.
Yeah.
It just felt like an innocent time. I feel like it was almost like a throwback to the 50s, you know, that sort of innocent period after we got through the Depression and the wars and blah, blah, blah. And then there was a lot going on in the country, and it was very positive. And I felt like that was sort of, it felt similar in the 80s, I feel like.
You know, it's funny you talk about today's. You know, it's funny that you talk about the 80s because I really feel like comparing now and then, it's like there's no comedies that are produced today that even can touch anything that came out of the 80s. You know, we look at Hughes, 16 Candles, The Last Starfighter, Indiana Jones, Ferris Bueller, Stand By Me. There's nothing like that today. I'm not saying there's not great movies. Like there's a lot of great movies, but there's nothing that, like, I wonder who this generation is going to come away with saying, I love this. This was my classic movie. I'm curious to know what that's going to turn out like.
Yeah,
let me ask you this.
Me as well. I'm curious about that too.
You talked about the genuine nature of the 80s. I totally agree with that. But what made it so special? Is it that genuine, that sincerity, that kind of just innocence that made the decade so special?
Well, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. You know, the fact that these little movies that I did got made could not be made today, probably, because they don't fit into sort of a sleeve of what producers or studios think is going to make them as much money as they possibly can, which is another sort of sad thing about today, is that that's all movie making is driven by. I feel like there's a whole thing about Supergirl now. It's, well, the studios are going to face harsh reality. It's losing $100 million, you know, or whatever it is. I saw a preview for it and I was like, I don't know what it is about this that is appealing in this, especially in the sense of relating to it as an audience. It's just, and to your point about what kids will look at as classics, I don't know, because there is this whole thing, for the most part, except for the most part, speaking of the superhero kind of movies, of course, where it's just overload senses, just in your face, bang. And so what do they come away with? I don't think, maybe a headache. I don't know. I certainly do.
Yeah, it's funny that you say it's. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Catherine.
No, go ahead.
I have to say, we went to go see Supergirl yesterday, and you're so right. Like, the woman who plays the girl who plays the lead is great, but it's like, I've seen this movie 700 times before. It's explosions. It's, and I have to say, I went with my daughter and my wife. My daughter was like kind of checked out, but this is the same girl who a couple days before has rewatched Goonies numerous times. So there's an everlasting effect.
That's what I'm talking about. Having characters that you can actually identify with.
Yes.
That you see yourself in is one of the magical things about movie making. It's where the audience is captured by the story and the characters, not smacked upside the head with special effects and dystopian future and people that, I don't know, maybe did she think she could be Supergirl? Was there ever a moment in there where it was like, oh, she could relate to this young woman?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Like, going back to The Last Starfighter, the buildup of this boy who's just a regular kid from a trailer park, just wanting to get out of the trailer park, and then he finds himself in outer space. Well, at least you've established a foundation where this is a character that could be you, and
Right.
the girlfriend could be a lot of girls, the innocence in that they've obviously been together for a long time, and they knew each other, cared about each other, and you just don't see that. I think it's a shame.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, that's so well said. Let me ask you. So some of your movies, we see terms like B movie, cult classic. I always feel like those terms are backhanded, right? They're like, it says the movie is great, but it's got this B or cult. I don't like those terms. Like, I'm not like a big cult. I feel like it diminishes, even though I don't think people do it on purpose to be mean. I don't love it. What is your take on those terms, B movie and cult classic?
Well, it seems like if you do a low budget movie, it's B. Nowadays, especially, even back then, a movie had to be $10 million and have all the, movie star. That was an A-lister movie kind of a thing. The cult thing, it feels. I always associate cult movies with, like, they feel dark to me, and they're dark, right, and they're culty because they're horror, or they're a very specific genre that is kind of culty or dark and kind of gritty.
Something like Blair Witch Project, something like that is a cult movie. Yeah.
So the movies that I did were more commercial, I would say, sort of, towards a more commercial audience, I guess. I think it's meant in the sense that it has this following that's hung in there. Yet cult feels a little off to me as well. But we do have a die-hard following of fans and they're almost, the fact that it is a smaller, less acknowledged movie than so many of them.
Right.
They're sort of proud of that. It's a sense of pride for them that this is the movie that they, felt something from, more than even, Pretty in Pink or whatever. Maybe. I don't want to put those movies down because they're hugely successful, of course.
Right.
Massive fan followings.
And you're right. I think the people that do use it don't mean it in a derogatory way. I'm
No, I don't think
positive of
so.
that. Yeah, but when they call like movies like Shawshank a cult classic at first because it didn't do well in the theaters, I'm like, that's can we just call a movie a good movie? Like, but I get what you're saying. You know,
Call it what it is. Yeah.
I wanted to say too. You brought this up earlier. Night of the Comet.
Mm.
Night of the Comet was dystopian and apocalypse before that was cool. You look at the last 30, 35 years, how many movies are dystopian and that's all we see. I feel like Night of the Comet was there before anyone else was, or one of the people there before anyone. Am I right with that, Catherine?
Well, I don't have that massive a history, movie history knowledge. I know that Tom Eberhardt, the director and writer, he loves apocalyptic kind of dystopian sort of movies. That is his passion. And so when he was researching this, he interviewed a couple of teenage girls. It's like, what would you do if a comet and everybody was gone and you were the only survivors? What would you do? And like so many dystopian apocalyptic movies, everybody turns on each other, or whatever. It always seems to become this horribly violent, struggle for survival, life or death situation. And so you sort of would expect the girls to go, oh no, but apparently their reaction was, excellent. Our parents are we would go to the mall. And it's such I love that, because yes, we have some the zombies in there and stuff, and there is a certain aspect of survival. It's very cartoony as well, the Night of the Comet, which I also dig because it doesn't take itself too seriously. Some people call it a zombie movie, but well, okay, there's a couple of zombies in there, but it's not really a zombie. I mean, it is and it isn't, but I love that it does cross so many genres, and it is kind of tongue in cheek. I love that about it.
Yeah, it's a lot of people's favorite. Like, I have a friend who was so psyched that I was interviewing you today, and his friend, one that I don't know very well, he loves the Night of the Comet. Is his favorite movie, not his favorite cult classic. It's his favorite movie. So yeah, he loves it. I have to say, Catherine, you mentioned the word mall. I'm kind of bummed my kids are going to grow up not knowing what that means. There's no more malls. I mean, not for the most part, right? The mall was it when we were growing up. That was it. That was social media in person.
That's where you went on the weekends, right?
Yes, yes.
And got your Orange Julius.
Yeah. Catherine, fun fact: Tom Eberhardt, guest coming on Thursday.
I love him. I love him to death. He's got so many great stories. Such a good guy. So
seems so kind. Yeah, he'll be happy that I talked to you. Well, I'm sure we'll be
so
good things about
please
you.
Give him a little internet hug for me.
I did want to say though, what do you think makes The Last Starfighter so special? I rewatched it a few times. My daughter watched it. She loved it.
Did she like it?
Oh, she did. And it's got such, but with her, it's so she's 5. She'll watch it now and she'll like it. But when she's 6, she'll pick up on things. She, just aging and the progression of aging. It has such a, it's in my book. It's, I talked to Henry Thomas, who did Cloak and Dagger, E.T., and I said to him, Cloak and Dagger is so underrated. I got to say, The Last Starfighter's in that same, like these two movies, Cloak and Dagger, Last Starfighter, very different, but not different in the way that they should have gotten way more kudos than they. I think people that watch it love it. These movies should have been way more popular because they were so good. They had such a good heart. They came from such a good place. And a lot of the people on IMDb, Catherine, time after time said it's the characters that make The Last Starfighter work, which is a testament to your hard work.
Oh, thank you. That's
So what do you think of what I just said?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it. Like I said before, I think it has so much to do with the characters and how they are relatable to the audience. I mean, that's what brings the audience in, is if they could see themselves somehow in the characters. Then you have them, and if you can tell a story that holds them, that's the secret. I mean, for for The Last Starfighter, I think timing was everything. It was released right at the time when a lot of really big, heavily publicized.
That's a good point. That's a good point. The timing was terrible. Yeah,
The
you're right,
timing
Catherine.
was bad, and it just didn't it just didn't find the audience at the time. But VHS came along, and so many of these movies became household staples. A lot of kids. It was also a time when both parents were starting to go out and work, so there was a lot of latchkey kids. And I've heard so many times from fans, at conventions, how they would come home and just put that VH tape in the recorder and watch it over and over and over again. And that really, it's a movie that is so accessible, but it was also, I feel like it's a movie that parents were completely comfortable with their children seeing.
Right.
So there was no restriction there. There was just nothing in it that you could, I don't know, say anything bad about, really.
No,
Maybe the fighting in outer space, if people aren't into violence or something like that, or maybe the melting face, I don't know. But very little, not just kind of a really nice, sweet story. And it's, again, inspiring. So I think it really found its audience through VHS, but I think what kept it going was the what's the word I'm trying to it's gone. But it's just accessible to the kids, and I feel like it's real. Like there's when you say it's a sweet whatever movie, I mean, shooting the movie was such a lovely experience. Nick Castle, the director, and this is very cliche to say, but it was kind of like a labor of love. I mean,
no cliche. That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Nick wasn't well known. The producer wasn't well known. The writer wasn't well known. Nobody was, but they were making this little movie that they had such a passion about. And you feel that in the movie. Lance and I became great friends. I think you feel that. We're still great friends. We're great friends to this day. I adore Lance. He lives in California. Whenever I'm out there, I'm staying with he and his wife in their house. They have a little extra suite.
Oh, how cool is that? That's so cool.
I know.
To hear. Yeah.
I know. And I love seeing him. We're going in a couple of weeks. We're going to go to San Antonio, Texas. They've released a Last Starfighter comic book, which is kind of, I think it's sort of like a sequel comic book that we're going to this, it's called Big Alpaca comic store in San Antonio to sign comic books for people. So that'll be fun. So we'll see each other then, which I'm excited about. I'm always excited to see him. We often do the conventions together.
You guys are a fun team. You guys are a fun team from what I saw on the internet. You guys are pretty fun together. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, he's lovely.
You really nailed it, Catherine, when you said that when you put that movie into the VCR or Blu-ray, whatever, it does give you that feeling. Like those are the great movies, right? The ones that when we put in, we know that our brain's going to be in a great place in the next 2 hours. Like it gives you that feeling of like a warm blanket, a good place to be. Let's do it. Bring out the popcorn. That's what The Last Starfighter is. There's very few movies that do that, and the ones that do, we cherish forever.
Yeah. I think that it's had that kind of effect, and I'm just really grateful to have been a part of it. And it's always surprising when something like that keeps popping up in your life. You do a little movie and you move on. In the 80s, I was working all the time. So you were just sort of hopping from one thing to the next. And you don't really think a lot about how it's going to last, or if it's going to last, or anything. You don't think of anything. And then all of a sudden, I remember it was the 25th anniversary screening of The Last Starfighter in California, and I happened to be there. And this guy who represents people at conventions said, I love this movie. I really want to represent you to do conventions. And at that time, it was like, what? I don't know about this convention thing. What was that movie where they were just joking about conventions? Yeah, anyway, I forget what the name of it was, but it had, what was it? It's like a Star Wars kind of a convention idea in a movie, and it was really funny. But at that time, I was really skeptical about conventions. I didn't know what that meant.
Yeah.
So I kept him waiting a while, and he, of course, wanted Lance to come on board. And he also eventually got Nick Castle to come on board because Nick Castle was in Halloween, right? Halloween.
Yes.
As the Michael Myers. I don't know. I get them all mixed up.
No, you're right. Michael Myers. Yeah.
So he comes to represent that movie, and he gets a lot of people wanting to meet him. Oh boy, I feel like I went off on this tangent, and I have no idea.
I do have to say though, one of the things that makes this movie very special, I think I hinted at this earlier, is the characters. Do you and Lance, when you were younger, making the movie, did you hang out off screen, and do you feel like that played into your on-screen rapport? I don't want to call it magic, it'd be over the top, but it really was a convincing relationship. It looked and felt real, authentic, all those great things. Did you guys spend time with each other, hanging out, being friends, doing your thing? Whatever you wanted to say about that, Catherine.
Yeah. I remember, well, I actually auditioned with Lance. So you have the first audition, and then you have the callbacks, and we were paired with people, and I happened to be paired with Lance. And we did our reading and everything. And when we found out that we got it together, he really wanted to spend some time together and discuss the characters and the relationship and all that other stuff, which of course I was totally happy to do. I wouldn't say we hung out a ton,
right?
But I think, but we really did like each other, right. He was in every scene in the movie. So I was, I did my bits and pieces, but we didn't hang out during the shoot because he was very busy. We actually, the weirdest story about how there were years where we didn't see each other or communicate or anything. And then one day in this apartment building that we were living in, my husband and my kids and I were living in the Upper West Side here in Manhattan, the doorman calls up, and he knew the movie. The doorman did. He was a big fan of The Last Starfighter. And he said, somebody's here who wants to see you. And I was like, that's really weird. Who? Well, it's Lance Guest. So the doorman recognized Lance and knew that I was in the movie. And I was like, what? It had been at least a decade. And he comes and knocks on the door. He had his little baby with him, who was about 2 at the time. And he was actually on his way out. His wife's aunt, I forget the exact relationship. His wife has like a complicated relative situation, but the relative to his wife lived in the building, and we'd never put those two together. Well, I didn't know his wife anyway, so there wouldn't have been a reason to put them together, but they were visiting, and they were actually on their way out. And so Lance was like, I can't stay very long, but I just wanted to say hi. And I was like, oh my God. And, finally at that time, there was the internet or Facebook or whatever it was. So we ended up keeping in touch, and it was just wonderful. It was such a wonderful reunion.
Catherine, this is such a random thing to say because you got me thinking. Is I don't know if you would know this, but is he part of that, like the Guest family that has Nicholas and Christopher? Is he related to that Guest family? I probably better question. Okay, because I'll say Nicholas Guest plays Todd in that Christmas Vacation. I was like, what a good tie-in that would be. But that's an awesome story. Do you find that without CGI, it's a lot tougher to act? Like, did you find that not knowing you didn't know what the movie was going to look like, right?
No,
so
we didn't.
Yes. So are you ever like, God, how is this going to look? Like there's aliens and this and that. I mean, obviously we know the final product now. It looks terrific, but were you ever, I don't want to say doubting it, but were you ever like, I hope this goes really well?
Well, I didn't ever doubt it. It's so funny. Go back to the 25th anniversary screening in Los Angeles. That was the first time I found out that the CGI that was used was not only groundbreaking and, it had never been done before to this extent. We're often compared with Tron, but to the extent of the CGI in Tron to what they tried to accomplish in The Last Starfighter are completely different things.
I
They
agree.
were creating codes, for The Last Starfighter as we went along. And I found out also at this 25th anniversary that they weren't sure, the production wasn't sure that they were actually going to use this new CGI thing because they really didn't know what that meant. So while we were shooting someplace in LA with all these in the day giant computers, you weren't doing things on your phone back then. They were creating the CGI effects. And it was really touch and go whether they were going to use traditional practical effects, models, or use this new thing. And there was also huge time constraints. So they were working, there was a bunch of them working as quickly as they could just to create these images. One of them was saying that they wish they'd have more time because they felt like some of this stuff sort of looked like when they're doing the outer space battle and they're flying into the rocks and hiding in the caves and all that stuff. He sort of described it as looking a little like melted chocolate ice cream. So they would have, in a perfect world, had a lot more time to really dig into the details. But that CGI was so grassroots and it really foundational for what you see today, which is slightly different.
I have a few more questions, Catherine. Thank you for all this time. You've been so kind.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
I'm gonna hate saying this next thing. I really worry because I hate remakes. I hate them. Like I feel like if you can't come up with a movie on your own idea, don't remake it. I worry that The Last Starfighter it's because I have to admit, if you're gonna remake anything, this not because the first one was an unbelievable movie. I just feel like it lends itself to 2026 video games. We talk about sci-fi. Like it's got all those key checked words that you want to see, and I hope they don't. I worry that it's a prime candidate for one eventually. Catherine, is that something you guys have thought about, talked about?
They have been talking about a sequel for years, which is slightly different than a remake. It would be a continuation of the story. Correct. They've been talking about it for years and years. There has been, like, even Nick Castle wrote a script. Well, actually, Lance even wrote a script, just, a spec script with an idea, because it's so wide open for a sequel, the way it ends.
Right.
Jonathan Betchwell, who's the original writer, got the rights back eventually from Universal, I believe it was, the rights back for the story itself, and has written a sequel. And he's been sitting on it for a while, and he was taking it around to studios trying to sell it. And one of the reasons there's this comic book coming out now is if they can they're trying to stir up some interest so that will sort of pay into actually making a sequel. Now, I agree with you 100%. I am not interested in remakes that much. I can't think of one off the top of my head that I thought was successful, unless I hadn't seen the original. Sometimes that works. In terms of a sequel, the upside to me is that it's Jonathan Betchwell, Nick Castle's involved. So some of the original people that really brought so much integrity to the story are involved. And I think that their goal is to maintain that kind of integrity. Yeah. I think they hopefully, I mean, I haven't seen the script. I have a vague idea of what it might be about, but they better hurry because Lance and I are going to be like in wheelchairs. Here you go, Starfighter. My great grandkid is a Starfighter now. But that gives me hope. I mean, I would, if I could be in a sequel for The Last Starfighter, I would jump at the idea because I have so much affection for it. But yes, I agree with you. I don't want to see crazy over action packed, over CGI'd, sequel that is just talking about superhero starfighter person.
Because it would be nice to see how it would be nice to see how their life turned out, right? She leaves, we don't know what happens. Like, yeah, I would love a sequel. Like, and it's still completely appropriate. Like, you got everyone involved, everyone's here, we're ready to go. There is so much garbage that we have to watch in the theater. Like, this is something that would just, it's kind of like Cobra Kai when they brought back Karate Kid. It's kind of that kind of nostalgic kind of, even if they did it in a show, Catherine, that would be great. Like, if where we can have like a series, get it going. Like, it doesn't have to be a sequel movie, which would be great. But if we could do like a show, that would be awesome as well. Would you? You'd be all in on a show, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, and keep it authentic to the original as much as possible. I mean, obviously, if you can make the CGI a little more detailed, that would be great. But without, I don't know, reining in just the excess would be good, because ultimately, The Last Starfighter is about the characters. And that is what drives it. And that, to me, is what made it as successful as it was.
Yeah, such a beautiful movie. I can't let you go without asking you about Weekend at Bernie's. I asked you about when we talked about Last Starfighter. I said to you, did you wonder what the movie was going to look like, when it was all put together? I have to say, when you were shooting Weekend at Bernie's, were you wondering, are people going to believe this? Because I mean, obviously, we know now that it's a classic. People love it, supremely rewatchable, so funny. But like when you're filming it, are you like, this is a crazy premise? Like, when you're filming this movie, you're like, Weekend at Bernie's, this has got to be in it. Nobody's going to buy this. This is insane. I don't want to say doubts, because I said that before. I didn't mean that. But were you like, I hope this is well received? Is there any of that going on, Catherine?
When I first read the script, and then subsequently auditioned for it, I thought it was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever read in my life. I mean, what? A dead guy, and then all this awful stuff happens to this dead guy, and we're supposed to laugh at this. But one of the reasons I wanted to do it was because Ted Kotcheff, the director, John Silverman, Andrew McCarthy, and it was a comedy. And it was something different from what I'd done before. Right. So, but I was doubtful. I didn't get the humor. And I have to say, it is a specific kind of humor. I kind of call it sort of sophomoric sort of humor.
Yeah.
But it is belly laugh humor. And I personally think the reason it was as successful as it was because of Terry Kaiser, who played Bernie.
Yeah, terrific.
He, to me, was brilliant. I mean, that he's a dead guy, and you're drawn to him. All this other stuff is going around him, but when he's on screen, you're just looking at him. And I don't know exactly what the secret is. I know that he's talked about this at conventions as well, where he was like, okay, I'm a dead guy, but he's a consummate actor, by the way, and the nicest guy you'll ever want to meet. He said, that's not enough, within the context of the movie. You can't just be dead. That will get old or boring or whatever. So he really created a character. And you're never quite sure where his head is going to flop, where he's going to look, what his mouth is going to be doing. And he, in his brilliance, he created a character out of a dead guy that he owns the movie, which is saying a lot, I feel like.
Yeah. He's absolutely unbelievable. You know, we started this conversation talking about the 80s and how the movies had such heart in them. Even the movies that quote unquote people look back today misfire, they look back on and they say, you know what? I'll give you a movie, like a movie Soul Man, right? The premise, people are like, "Ugh, it's awful," which it is, not great. But if you watch that movie in its own 80s stumbling way, it had a good heart. He kind of was like, I see another person's perspective. See, the 80s wasn't perfect, but it had a heart. And nothing is ever perfect, but I just feel like the 80s did it and did it better than anybody else. I don't know. I just any other decade, I should say. I don't know. I have such a fondness for it, Catherine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Me too. I loved
yeah.
being a part of it. I really, really enjoyed every second of it. It was fun.
So
I had a big smile on my face every day.
what's going on with you now? What are you up to? I'm just curious as to know what you're doing with yourself in 2026.
Well, I've actually been busier now than I have been for many, many years. Not that I'm making any money, but that doesn't, I have gotten into directing a little more.
Nice.
I just finished up this Friday the 13th fan film with a friend of mine. He's a huge man. Again, it's sort of fun looking at all these little horror 80s movies. Let's talk about innocence. They're kind of funny. I was never a big fan of them, but doing this film with my friend Bobby Heckman, who's a massive fan, and our relationship started basically when he invited me to have this role in his first one. It's a fan film. It's not going to be released in theaters or anything. He just does it for the sheer love of it.
Mm.
And when we were doing it, we were good friends, and I told him, I really want to do some directing. So he let me direct a few scenes in the first one. And then the second one, which is a feature length, he invited me to co-direct with him. So because it's very, very, very low budget, and we shot it all on Long Island with local actors who actually have jobs, during the day. So we'd have to wrangle them to shoot, and it was very sporadic. It took us over a year to shoot this thing. We finally finished in May. But it was a really good experience. I loved just directing actors. And more recently, what I'm working on right now is directing a one-woman show for the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which comes up in August. And again, a good friend of mine that I met a few years ago, she is a tarot card creator. She creates tarot cards and she writes about them. She's sort of an expert in the tarot card business. And she created this one-woman show called Ghost Stories in Tarot. Sasha Graham's Ghost Stories in Tarot. So you can Google that for the Fringe. And it's a 50-minute show of 5 ghost stories that she tells based on her experience in New York City when she first moved here in 1992. She moved into a haunted loft apartment in Midtown. So she tells all these stories about that, and in between she relates the stories to specific tarot cards. And then in between each story, she'll read the tarot card. She'll hand out tarot cards at the beginning, and whoever has that tarot card, she'll read their tarot card. So that's been really fun and really challenging. The worst part is trying to raise the money for it.
I bet.
I don't really like doing that part, but we are booked. We got the venue. We've paid for everything already, but the goal is to hope people donate so that it's not all out of our pockets. You know what I mean? It's expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like that part. I don't like the fundraising part very much. And because it's Sasha, me, and Mia Borelli is her name. She's our producer. It's just the 3 of us. So we have to figure everything out, including previews and finding spaces. It's so much more than just directing. Mm-hmm. But it's been a really, really interesting learning curve for me. A lot of work. And I am just so excited to go to Edinburgh, Scotland for a few weeks and just jump into this craziness called the Fringe.
Yeah, I have to say, Catherine, what a pleasure it's been for me to talk to my childhood crush who's become this amazing human being. So I really appreciate every minute you've given me today. And this couldn't have been a better interview. You have been so kind to me, and I appreciate every second of it. Thank you for that.
Thank you, Derek. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I love I love that it's called Director's Cut. I was like, it took me a minute, and then I was like, oh, that's his name. That's so clever. I love that.
Yeah, because my old name was Monday Morning Critic, and it's like critic implies negativity, and I'm like, I have people whose work I love on the show. So when I was sending out feelers, people be like critic. So it's like, well, is he trying to be like? So it didn't go with anything. So I'm like, I'm not smart either. So I don't know how I came up with Director's Cut. I had a moment. Maybe it was when the caffeine was kicking in the morning, but
early morning. We don't do it in the afternoon. That sundowners effect. I lose everything in the afternoon. I'm like, I should just stop doing anything at like 3.
Yeah. Catherine, I
How was your
appreciate
cruise,
it.
by the way? I wanted to ask you. You look all tan. And
Oh my God, Catherine. So the cruise. Okay, so there's a lot to this, but I liked it. We went to Nova Scotia. We went from Boston to Nova Scotia, and then I loved it, but it was raining. But then we went from Nova Scotia to Bermuda, and it was raining a little bit. But then there was a day Wednesday where the boat was just rocking for like 24 hours back and forth. I have to tell you, Catherine, I had nausea. Like you wouldn't believe. You know that feeling when you have like too much to drink and you're like, I gotta stop, but like you're already too late. That's what it felt like an entire day. It was just that nausea, kind of like I hated that. Oh, I hated that. But I gotta tell you, if I had to make a show, I would make a show about the people who work there. They're amazing. They're from all over the world, Philippines, India, all over the world. They don't get off the boat. They work 7-hour days, 10 hours a day. I'm sorry, 7 days a week. 10 hours a day, no days off. And it's like, what a hard, like they get good benefits, I guess. And I was talking to a lot of them, just getting their input on it. They loved it. But Catherine, it's crazy. Just how this works for them. They never get off the boat. They're on that boat nonstop. There's no free time.
Was it one of those giant cruise ships?
It was Norwegian. Yeah, it was a huge one. It's a huge, I got to tell you, Bermuda. I don't know if you've ever been to Bermuda. Oh my God.
I have, yeah.
Oh my God, I was not ready for that. Like pink sand and like water that's so clear it looks like when you put on your tap or something, you pour spring water. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. The fish are at your feet. Like I've never seen anything like it. So my kids loved it, which was most important. You know, have you done a cruise, Catherine? Have you done a cruise?
I haven't been on a cruise. I haven't been on a cruise. My husband refuses to go on any cruises. He just doesn't like the idea of being trapped on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
I kind of agree with him. I kind of agree with your husband. Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I'm a land lover, and I like to. I'd rather be in a city, exploring the city, and move to another city or something like that. And I have to say, we live like 2 blocks off the Hudson River, and we'll see one of those giant ships come by from up on probably 34th Street or wherever the big piers are up there. It's just like surreal.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like Disneyland on the ocean. I don't know.
And Catherine, this was a 7-day cruise, and there's people that are staying on the boat to do another 7-day cruise. Like there's people that are called cruisers. They stay on the boat. Yeah, it's almost like they live at sea. Not my lifestyle, not my choice. But you know what? If they love it, God bless them. Yeah. But
I mean, there's a lot of fans of cruises. That's for sure.
You're on the East Coast. Very hot Wednesday, Thursday. So I live in Massachusetts, so very hot. Yeah, very hot.
Yes, I guess. Is it tomorrow that it's going to be over 100?
Yeah. So I got to walk my dogs early in the morning when I go. So,
yes, exactly. Yeah.
Catherine, you rock, and good luck with everything that's coming up for you. And I wish you nothing but success. And come back anytime. You're more than welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Derek. This is really fun.
Enjoy your day, Catherine. Thank you.
You too.